House prices are on the rise again. What happened to the property market crash? The latest news from the Halifax Building Society says that property prices actually moved up for the second month in a row. So what does this mean to you and your property investing? Hi, my name's Simon Zutshi, and in this property education video, I'm going to share with you what's the impact of this news about property prices on the rise again. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, which is the longest running and largest network in the UK for property investors. And I've also been teaching people like you how to become a more successful investor for the last 20 years. Now, according to this latest news from the Halifax, who are the largest mortgage lender in the UK, average house prices went up by 1.1% in October to just under £282,000. Now that's a rise of £3,000 from September average, and there's been a further 0.5% increase in house prices in November. So with 2 months of average property prices going up, does this mean that the property crash is not going to happen? Does it mean that property prices are now recovering? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in this property education video. Now this slight bump up in prices has been fueled by a slight easing of the mortgage interest rates and also a shortage of housing stock availability. Now, the fact is there is a shortage of accommodation in the UK, and because property prices have been falling in 2023, mainly due to the recent interest rate hikes, many potential sellers have been waiting to put the house on the market for sale until prices start to recover, which is probably going to be next year. Normally in spring, property prices do tend to have a bit of an increase because there's an increase in activity, because more people are thinking about moving on for the summer. So the big question here is, will there be another property price rise in December? So the director of mortgages at Halifax, Kim Kinyard, thinks not, and also I agree. December and January, most people are not interested in buying houses. They're not looking to move, which by the way is great news for you and me as property investors. And maybe you saw my video a couple of weeks ago about this topic when I was talking about when's a good time to buy. And I said that actually right now, literally right now, the week when I'm recording this video is a really good time when you should be out viewing properties and making offers. Why? It's because most people are not doing that. Most people are starting to wind down towards the Christmas period, and that's why there's not much competition. Estate agents have got time to talk to you. They'll be happy to listen to you if they think you're a serious buyer. And if you put an offer in just before Christmas and you position it as, hey, let's get a deal agreed so you can sit back, relax and enjoy your Christmas, a lot of sellers, particularly motivated ones, might well go for that. So if you're out viewing properties, making offers, you could absolutely secure a fantastic deal before Christmas. That reminds me, by the way, it's a really good idea to subscribe to this channel if you like the content, but make sure you hit the bell icon, because sometimes I bring out topical videos that are very timely, and if you're watching them months later, you might miss the opportunity that I'm talking about. So I really recommend you subscribe, hit the bell icon, and if you like the video, please like, that helps the algorithms, and also comment below, what do you think is going to happen to property prices? Now, no one knows in reality, but I'd love to hear what your view is. Let's see what the consensus of people who watch my YouTube channel thinks going to happen to property prices. Property prices obviously have fallen, but with the last 2 months of blip upwards, it means that the average is only about 1% down on where it was this time last year. And the average house price is still £40,000 more than it was before the unexpected boom in property prices during the COVID period. Now, the property price boom during COVID was caused by the government intervention because they, like everyone else, was concerned that the property market might crash. I remember in May 2020, the Bank of England produced a report saying they thought the property prices could fall as much as 16% because of the pandemic. No one knew what was going to happen. So the government, I think, responded really well. They introduced the stamp duty holidays to stimulate the market, and that certainly happened. And they also introduced the bounce back loans and CBIL loans. Now, they were meant for businesses who are struggling, to help them recover, to keep them going going so they didn't have to shut down. But I think a lot of that money that was made in bounce back loans and civil loans probably found its way into the property market. It shouldn't have been used for that, but I'm pretty sure it would have been, and lots of that money has helped stimulate and help the property market grow, and that's why we saw this boom. Also remember that a lot of people who were living in apartments or small houses and they were cooped up during lockdowns, there was a real kickback against that, and people thought, you know what, I want to live in a house with a garden, I want to live in the countryside. So we saw those particular properties massively go up in demand during the COVID period, and because of that, prices went up. It's also worth remembering that during COVID and for the last couple of years, rental incomes have also gone up massively, as much as 20% in some areas over the last couple of years. So what does this mean for you and your property investing? Will property prices recover? Are they going to dip first? And are we going to see this property market crash that many people are talking about? There are still people on YouTube predicting this property market crash, and they might be right. Who knows? But personally, I doubt it. I think we're seeing a property correction rather than a property market crash. And that always happens when prices go up too quick. It becomes unaffordable and prices then dip down until suddenly it's an affordable price. Then people buy again. Now, I personally think that property prices will dip into 2024, and we might see property prices start to recover in Q2 of 2024, but it's only going to happen if interest rates come down, which again will only happen if inflation gets closer to the Bank of England's target of 2%. And with prices the way they are at the moment, I really don't see that happening. But the point is, no one knows what's going to happen. And this is a really important point I wanted to make in this video. If you follow the 5 golden rules that I talk about in Property Magic, it doesn't really matter what happens to the property market and property prices in the short term. As long as you know you can easily rent the property out because there's good strong demand, that's rule number 2, and you make positive cash flow, that's rule number 3, and you're holding for the long term, rule number 4. So if you're following those, it really doesn't matter what happens. So stop worrying about short-term fluctuations, prices going up, property prices coming down. It really doesn't matter. And instead of trying to time the market to buy at exactly the right time or sell at exactly the right time, which is pretty impossible to do in the property market because no one knows what's going to happen, I think a much better property investing strategy and property investing principle for you to follow is for you to work out what is a really good property deal for you. Now, what you want as a property deal might be different from what I want from someone else, but you need to work out what works for you. So think about the area you want to invest in. Think about the type of property you want to invest in. Think about the kind of cash flow you want to be making on a monthly basis. That's the profit you make after all expenses. Think about the return on investment you want to make, which is how much you make each year profit compared to how much you had to put in to acquire that property in the first place. So when you know the cash flow, the area, the ROI you're looking for, your buying criteria, it will help you become far more decisive. When you see a really good property, a really good deal, you need to move quickly, because if it is a good deal, guess what? Someone else is also going to spot that, and if you don't move quick enough, they'll come in and beat you to it. So what you need to do is be really clear on your criteria. So as soon as a deal that comes up meets all your criteria, you don't hesitate, you don't overanalyze, you don't overthink it, you just go and do that property deal. And I recommend holding for the long term is probably the best investment strategy. I love the concept of work once and get paid forever. What that means is you need to put some time and effort into your property investing. It's not a get rich quick, sit back and do nothing. You definitely need to put some time and effort in, but the time and effort you put into your property investing is probably going to be the best time you spent doing anything, because you work once, you get the property set up, you can give it to a letting agent to manage, take care of all the hassle, because I don't want to do that personally, and then you get paid forever. You get rent coming in and hopefully profit every single month, and you get the long-term capital appreciation from holding property as well. So work once, get paid forever. In my mind, sure beats working for a living where you're working 9 to 5 or even longer for 5 days a week for someone else, or even worse, running your own business, working really hard, but you have to keep on doing it to get paid. property is one of those things you can work once and get paid forever. I believe it's always a good time to invest as long as you know what you're doing. And I'm personally going to be doing a lot more investing in 2024 than I've done in the entire last decade. Now, I've always been investing, I've been buying, I've been selling, and I think it's important to keep myself up to date. If I'm teaching other people how to invest, I need to know what's happening in the market. However, the last couple of years, I've definitely bought less property. I've actually sold more properties, taken advantage of the booming prices. But this next 12 months, I'm going to be buying and acquiring a lot more property. When I say acquire, I will be using things like lease options instead of actually buying, because you don't need to put down deposits, you don't need to get mortgages, and obviously the market right now, getting mortgages can be a bit difficult. That's why lease options are a fantastic strategy to use, and frankly, most people don't understand about lease options, don't know how to use them, so there's not much competition. Now, unfortunately, they don't work in every circumstance, but in some circumstances, they can be a perfect solution for the seller and also a perfect solution for you. So I'm going to keep you updated on this year, this next 12 months on a regular basis. I'm going to be posting what I'm doing in property, what I'm buying, what I'm acquiring, so you can see what I do and learn from that and copy that if you want. But the whole point is I'm going to be very, very active because I think this is going to be an incredible year to be buying property. I hope you agree, mate. Again, I'd love to see your comments below. Tell me, what do you think? Are you going to be buying? Are you going to be selling over the next 12 months? What are your plans? I'd love to hear in the comments. I'll come and like and comment on as many of them as I can. And please remember to like this video, helps the algorithms, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to make sure you receive these videos on a timely manner. So until next time, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below to come and do the online training with me. And I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful that you should watch once you've registered for the online training with me. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.